Well, good morning and welcome to Ignite Online. Welcome to Boxing Day 2021. I hope you had a great Christmas. Now, you may be wondering, some of you, why we're not actually having church face-to-face this Sunday. You think maybe Pastor Darin's lost the plot, maybe he's backslid. The truth is, we're all very tired. And we thought, given that Christmas was yesterday and today's Boxing Day, great opportunity to have one day, our first Sunday off from church, and instead we're going to go online. I've got a great message for you this morning. After this extremely busy year, sometimes it's good to settle down and just spend the day with the family without any regrets and without any feelings of guilt. Christmas is about honouring the Lord Jesus, yes, but it's also about family. And Boxing Day is a great time to get over the Christmas, whatever you've done at Christmas, and settle back and enjoy some time with the family. You know, people live by the clock. Not just because time is important to all of us, but everything we have in this world is on the clock. Benjamin Franklin said this: "Do not squander time, for it is the stuff life is made of. Spending time together is the key to a strong family, both for your earthly family and also for your church family." In Psalm 90 verse 12 it says this: "Teach us to number our days so that we may get a heart of wisdom." Well, today I want to examine a couple of ways in which we can number our days and use our time effectively for the things that really matter, not waste time, waste our most precious asset, which is time, but invest it in a way that makes sense. Now, most of us, as you probably know, myself included, and I'm so preaching to myself this morning, most of us fight time. We never have enough time, and yet we squander and give it away so easily, then complain we don't have enough. And I believe it's high time we maximised our time. That's what this message is about. You know, time is of the essence. And this Boxing Day, having just spent the day with the family over Christmas, I want to encourage you to use your time effectively in your time off. Now, as I'm reading through the scriptures, I realise Jesus was a man for all time. Now, we've just celebrated, obviously, with Christmas, the birth of Jesus Christ. And when I think of him coming to earth, I think about all the great things that he did. He was born in a stable. He grew up to be a very godly man, to be a perfect man, in fact, completely sinless. I think of his miracles, his teachings, his sacrifice on the cross for your sin and for mine. And I'm just amazed when I look at the whole thing that he never seemed to be in a hurry. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, he was doing, surely, the most important job in history. You think the things you've got to do are important? Well, I think Jesus, a lot more important. He was redeeming the world. And although he knew and had a few years to do it, he never seemed pressed for time. He didn't run. He didn't panic. He took time to consider the birds of the air and the flowers of the field. He took time to spend with little children. He took time to lay hands on them and bless them. He took time with his friends, the disciples, to train them, to love them, to care for them. Time was his friend, not his enemy. Now, the Bible gives us some great insight into how you can use time and make time your friend and not your enemy. That's what I want to speak about this morning. So as you relax on this Boxing Day, and as we face a new year full of promise and full of wonderful things that the Lord has for us in 2022, sometimes fear for people, but I'm looking at it as a year of promise. I believe it's time that we examine ourselves and how we use our time, because the key to unlocking your destiny is using your time effectively. I know when we had all the lockdowns earlier in the year, that was a great chance for myself and for Fiona and for others on our team to actually unwind and not be in the problem with the rat race is that even if you win, you're still a rat. And so many of us are in this rat race of time all the time. Onward, rushing. But see, God is the creator of time, and he operates beyond time and eternity. In Hebrews 13 verse 8 it says this: Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. So he never changes. He never hurries up. He never wastes time. He's perfect. Now, I can guarantee you God doesn't have a Rolex or a Google Calendar. He simply doesn't need them. He's outside of time. He commands time. And he commands the time that each of us get. And even unbelievers, even people who don't believe in God, are actually aware that somewhere out there they've got this concept that there is eternity. The Bible puts it this way in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11. He says, "He has made everything beautiful in his time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart." See, even people who don't believe in God, when they look at the stars, they somehow get a concept of eternity. when you're talking about light years and millions of miles and millions of years, we all seem very small, and you realize that God is very, very big. Whether you believe in him or not, something out there is really big. We believe it's God, of course. So this Boxing Day, the presents are done. The food and drink has probably been overindulged in my case. As you can tell by my stomach. That's why I've got the camera from here up. And today we have the chance to just pause and just take half an hour or so to ask the question, Lord, what can you teach me about maximizing my time? I believe, folks, it's high time that we learned a little bit about time. Let me read to you Psalm 90, verses 9 to 12. It says this, "For all our days pass away under your wrath. We bring our years to an end like a sigh. The years of our life are 70, or if by reason of strength 80. Yet their span is but toil and trouble. They are soon gone and we fly away. Who considers the power of your anger and your wrath according to the fear of you? So teach us to number our days that we may get a heart of wisdom." Now I'm going to use the 4 letters of time, T-I-M-E, to help us learn about how we can maximize our time in these dark days that we are surrounded by right now. How do we use our time more effectively? Well, number 1, T, treasure it. God says we should treasure time as a valuable commodity. You number your years, or at least some of you do, but to God every day is so precious, and we should treasure it and we should number it. We should take care of it. We should steward it properly. So let me ask you a question. How valuable is an hour? Well, ask the businessman whose flight was delayed for an hour and he missed an important business deal. How valuable is 1 minute? Well, ask Fred, who had a heart attack. Our very own Fred. He had a heart attack outside the house of a paramedic on his way to church one day. Fred is with us today because the minutes were precious, and those paramedics got out there and they saved his life. How valuable is a second? We'll ask a person who hesitated just too long, just for a second, and was involved in a car accident. How valuable is even a fraction of a second? We'll ask an Olympic athlete, say an Olympic swimmer who misses out on qualifying by 0.6 of a second. Time really is valuable. It just depends on how you look at it. Ephesians 5 verse 15 to 16 says this, "Look carefully then at how you walk, not as unwise but as wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil." And I think you'll agree, right now in Australia, under really a socialist or communist regime here, the times are definitely evil, and we need to make the best use of our time. And we squander time so often. That's the thing, don't we squander it so often? We sit in front of the TV watching rubbish. We sit on Facebook talking back and forward about rubbish. We worry about stuff that may never happen. Worry is like a rocking horse. It keeps your mind occupied, but you don't get anywhere. It just uses up time, and it's completely wasted. The trouble is, we never think about time as being valuable until it's too late. Now, if you treasure something, you're going to be careful about what you do with it. You will value it, you will cherish it. And I have to confess, right now, I am guilty of not treasuring time correctly and mismanaging time. Those of you who work with me will know I struggle sometimes to manage time effectively in my life. Now, I mentally believe that time with my family, with my wife, with my kids, with my grandkids is the most important thing. With my mum, who's ailing, getting older, I mentally think that's a good idea. But if your life is anything like mine, the tyranny of the urgent comes in. You say, yeah, that's important, but I've got to do this. I've got to do this because there's deadlines, there's people demanding things all the time. Christians, this Christmas, I would encourage you to show love to your family. And you don't spell love T-H-I-N-G-S, things. You spell love T-I-M-E, time. A.W. Tozer wrote this, "Time is a resource that is non-renewable and non-transferable. You cannot store it, you cannot slow it up, hold it up, divide it up, or give it up. You can't hoard it up or save it for a rainy day. When it is lost, it is unrecoverable. When you kill time, remember it has no resurrection." Charles Francis Adams, the son of President John Quincy Adams, famous American president, and the grandson of President John Adams, kept a diary. One day he wrote this, "Went fishing with my son today, a day wasted." His son, Brooke Adams, who also kept a diary, which is still in existence, on that very same day, his son, Brooke Adams, wrote this, "Went fishing with my father, the most wonderful day of my life." The father thought he was wasting his time fishing with his son. but the son saw it as an investment of time that was invaluable. So, treasure it, number one. T-I, I is for invest. Now, we use a lot of phrases with time that aren't really possible. These roll off our tongue, we don't even think about it, but they're not really possible. You can't buy more time. You can't really find more time. We speak of making time to do something, but that's impossible too. We can't make time. You can't save time, but you can invest time. See, time can be spent, wasted, or invested just like money can. But it's actually more valuable than money. You see, you can always get more money, but you can't get more time. The richest person in the world, on his deathbed, can say, listen, I'll give everything I own just for an extra minute of life. Can't do it. Use it or lose it. In the early 1970s, Jim Croce wrote a beautiful song, If I Could Save Time in a Bottle. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. Beautiful. So let me read the words to it. It's beautiful. If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day for it, like till eternity passes away, just to spend it with you. Now, they're great lyrics. And it would be nice if we could save time, but you can't, in fact, save time. In fact, in a few months after he wrote that song, Jim Croce was tragically killed in a plane accident at the age of only 30. You can't save time in a bottle. He couldn't. You can't. Billy Graham said this, time is the capital that God has given us to invest. People are the stocks in which we are to invest our time, whether they're blue chip, penny stocks, or even junk bonds. There's not a lot of blue chip around for some people, but your family is blue chip investment. Investing in them is a sure bet that is incredibly valuable. So here's the thing. Every day God gives each one of us 86,400 seconds. Can you imagine if someone came to you and said, I'm going to give you $86,400 to spend today, but you can't, it doesn't roll over to the next day. Anything you don't spend will be taken off you. You just got all this money, you got one day to spend it. I don't know about you, but I'd shop until I dropped. I would find extra amounts of energy to go out and really invest that $86,400 in what I wanted to buy. You might invest it wisely. If there's no promise of money tomorrow, the question is, where are you going to invest it? The second thing about investment is where you invest your time reveals what's most important to you. There are 168 hours in each week. The average person spends, so they say, 56 of those hours sleeping. Well, I'm a little less, thanks to overseas football. 24 of those hours eating and in personal hygiene, and about 50 of those hours working or travelling to and from work. That means in the average week of the average person, there is only 35 hours a week which are discretionary. You can spend it the way you like. That's about 5 hours a day. So my question is, where are you investing those 5 hours? How you spend those 5 hours reveals what's important to you. You might say Facebook or TV isn't important, but then you go and spend hours in front of the TV or on Facebook, going back and forth bantering about the various things that are going on. How much time do you invest every day reading the Bible and praying? Because that's a pretty good indication of how important the Bible and prayer is to you. How much of that discretionary time do you put into your family? And I'm guilty of this one, because that is a pretty good indication, really, of how much you value your family. I find I have to fight other things to try and spend time with my family. I've got a wife who keeps reminding me to line up and get it right. But I'm so glad she does, because she'll never get that family time back. And some of you might say, well, I don't spend a lot of time with my family, but it's quality time. Well, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. This Boxing Day, you got the day off, most of you. Why not spend time with your family and make it quality and quantity time this Boxing Day? I read the heartbreaking story of a little boy whose dad was always busy working. And some of us have been there. And one day the little boy said, Dad, how much do you earn per hour? And the impatient dad said, oh, I don't know, I guess about $50 an hour or so when I'm working. Don't bother me now, I'm busy doing something. Well, after a couple of weeks, the young boy did odd jobs around the neighbourhood and this sort of stuff. The little boy approached the dad once again and said, Dad, here's $25. Can I buy half an hour of your time for you to play with me? Ouch. T-I-M. M is for manage. God is the creator of time and He alone controls it. But as good stewards, we need to manage it properly. A time management expert, now this is an old story, but it's good for us to hear it again. He was teaching a group of executives at a seminar, placed a large, clear, open-mouthed jar in front of the group. Next he put in 7 or 8 large rocks. He said, "Is the jar full?" They said, "Yes." Then he poured in some smaller rocks. "Is it full now?" They said, "Yes." He said, "No, it's not." Then he poured in some sand. "Is it full now?" "No, it's not." Then he poured in some water until finally it was full. And so he turned to the class and he said, what management lesson can we gain from this story of filling up this container? And someone says, "No matter how busy you are, you can always fit more things into your schedule." He said, "No, that is not the lesson. The lesson is this: unless you put the big rocks in first, you will never fit them in. But you have to figure out what the big rocks are." I know that when I order a drink at a restaurant or something like that, I don't get them to put a lot of ice in, just a little tiny bit of ice. And Fiona says no ice because she knows you get more of what you've ordered if you get no ice. But what they'll tend to do is fill it up with ice and then put a little bit of the liquid into it. You know, put the important things in first. If the drink's important, put that in first. If the ice is important, put that in first, but it's not. So what are the big rocks in your life? What are the things that you deem most important? This should be giving time to God and giving time to your marriage and your family. If you don't put in those big rocks, then like first up, then you'll find if you put other things in there, you won't have room to fit them in the long run. Next thing is every moment is a gift from God and it has to be managed wisely. In his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey writes this: time management is a misleading concept. You can't really manage time. You can't delay it. You can't speed it up. You can't save it or lose it. No matter what you do, time keeps moving forward at the same rate. The challenge is not to manage time. The challenge is to manage ourselves. And I think that's a great message this Boxing Day. Let's look at the time we can spend with our families and let's manage ourselves. Ephesians 5 verses 15 to 16 says this: "Look carefully then at how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of time because the days are evil." I mentioned that verse before. Now, better than managing your time is what the Bible talks about here. That word for making the best use of time, that the ESV translates the best use of time, is actually the word exaggerazo, which literally means to redeem or buy back the time. So it's not just making the best use of time, it's buying back the time to be used effectively. Redeeming it, just as we have been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, so we can buy back or redeem our time. You know, and many things in life have brought, use time up. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. But the thing is, in the Lord this Boxing Day, let me ask you the question: what can you buy back for yourself, for your time with God, and for the family? Here's the second thing about management: if you don't manage time, somebody else will. You're going to spend time somewhere. If you're not going to manage it and invest it correctly, someone else will do that for you. If you don't control your schedule, someone else will. Someone or some other demand will come in and they'll always be happy to schedule your life for you. Some people complain that they don't have enough time to spend with their family. You've got exactly the same amount of time as everybody else. You just aren't managing it the same way. When you manage time effectively, see, we all get the same amount of time. How come that guy spends more time with his family than you do? How come that guy spends more time with the Lord than you do? It's not because he's got more time than you. It's because he's managing it differently. So this Christmas with COVID around, I think it's a perfect opportunity. Some of us aren't allowed out into restaurants and that sort of stuff because they're not jabbed. Fair enough. Use the time effectively, manage your time effectively, and invest in what matters in eternity. In eternity, only 3 things matter: God, His Word, and the souls of men and women. You should be investing in those 3 things. Back in the 1970s, songwriter Harry Chapin released a huge hit called Cats in the Cradle. His wife Sandy actually wrote the words to the song after his son Josh was born. And in the song, Harry Chapin sings about spending time or failing to spend time with his son. If you remember the song, he starts off saying, well, I was too busy to spend time with my son. And by the end of the song, he's saying, hey son, why don't you spend time with me? And the son's grown up. And the son's saying, I'd love to, Dad, but I just can't find the time. And this actually became a self-fulfilling prophecy for Harry Chapin because he was performing 200 concerts a year. And Sandy came to him and said, well, when are you going to take some time out of performing to be with your son, Harry? He said, look, I'll go through to the end of the summer, see out my commitments, and then I'll spend time with him. But he never made it. That summer, a truck hit his Volkswagen Bug, and he was killed instantly. He never made it. He never got to spend that time. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, time, T-I-M and E. What's the E for? The E is for enjoy. The time you spend with your family should be something you enjoy, not endure. It should be the best times of your life. So often we give the best times of our life to work or to TV or Facebook or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with relaxing, but sometimes our family gets the dregs. Fiona feels like sometimes I spend so much time working or so much time in the church that she just gets the cast outs at the end of the day, whatever's left. And that's wrong of me. She's absolutely right. I need to judge and govern what I'm doing more effectively. So I'm preaching to myself here as well. So this Christmas and Boxing Day, take the time to give your family your best time and make sure you and the family enjoy it. Even if you're not allowed to go out to some of the venues around the place, there's lots of things you can do at home that you or they enjoy. So here's a couple of ways you can enjoy your family time to finish up. First of all, say no to family time robbers. You need to understand, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. That's the nature of life. There will always be something else to do, even at home. So things like gardening, mowing lawns, washing, what certain TV shows to watch, and they're all fine. But they're not family time. So maybe you're best to say no to those sometimes. So let the lawn grow a little bit bigger, let the garden look a bit mangier, and spend time with the people that you love. There will always be something or somewhere else you can be, something else demanding your time. If you're going to spend time with your family or time with the Lord, say no to something else. I spend time with the Lord every morning in a quiet time, and I say no to everything else. I sit with my cup of coffee in my favourite chair and I spend time with God. He gets that first part of my life. That's a habit that's ingrained in me now, has been for many years. It's the best habit. Spend time with the Lord every day, preferably at the same time every day. I get up in the morning, I have a shower, make a cup of coffee, make Fiona a cup of tea, I sit down, spend time with the Lord. It's normal for me, but it has grown my life incredibly over the last many years. So let me ask you, 1,000 years from now, what do you think is going to be more important? Spending time with your family or watching the latest TV show? Or commenting on some Facebook post? The time with your family is the most important. Nobody on their deathbed said, gee, I wish I'd spent more time at work, or I wish I'd spent more time on Facebook. Several years ago, a famous baseball player called Ken Griffey Jr. was invited to the Players' Choice Awards, where he was to be awarded the Player of the Decade. There was a big deal, national television coverage everywhere across the United States. It was a huge deal. He was a very popular and a very good baseball player. But when he found out that the award was to be given, he declined to attend. He had something more important to do. What was it? His 5-year-old son Trey was playing his first baseball game and Ken wasn't going to miss it. Wow. Isn't that incredible? You need to learn to say no to some of the things that take you away from your family and from the things that are important. But here's another reason to work on enjoying your family time. Say yes to happy memories. See, your kids are only going to be with you for a few years. Your grandkids are only going to be young for a few years. They all grow up so fast. So we need to make the best use of time that we possibly can. That's why when it says in Psalm 90, verses 9 to 12, for all our days pass away under your wrath, we bring our years to an end like a sigh. The years of our life are 70, or if by some reason of strength 80, yet their span is but toil and trouble, and they are soon gone by, and we fly away. Who considers the power of your anger, your wrath according to the fear of you? So teach us to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom. Our lives are so short and time flows through like sand through our fingers. That's why James later on writes in James chapter 4 verse 14, what is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. And the fact is, we're only here for a short time. But we should be able to enjoy this time and find great moments with our family. So let me ask all of you, this Christmas holidays, what are you going to do to make time with your family special? That's your kids, your grandkids, even your friends. What are you going to do to make it special? Play a game or two? Have another family round for dinner? We're planning to do that. Maybe take a special trip to the beach or to the mountains, to a restaurant if you're allowed. Maybe you're not. Who cares about restaurants? Go to somewhere nice, have a picnic somewhere. Maybe plant something together. Here, this is my property here, and Raymond and I are very keen on planting chilies. So we've planted a lot of chilies, and some of them are pretty hot. You don't have to plant them, but plant something together. It's always a great idea. Do something the kids will remember. When my kids were younger, we had this one day, and they talk about it to this day, when we kidnapped them from school. We actually snuck in there, kidnapped them, brought a change of clothes and drove to Brisbane and just went out to museums and parks and stuff like that in Brisbane for the day. We kidnapped our own kids from school. How cool is that? They thought it was awesome. It's lived in their memory forever. I had a friend who was a missionary who someone said, do you dare to take your child out of school to go on mission trips with you? He said this, I refuse to let school interfere with my children's education. He thought it was more valuable that they travelled and saw the world, and I agree with him. But the bottom line is, as we all enjoy this single Sunday away, let's maximise the time and have fun on this day. It's Christmas time, it's Boxing Day. Yeah, the rest of the world thinks this is a lousy Christmas. I think it's a great Christmas because every Christmas is a good Christmas. And take time to do something special with your family or with your friends, with those whom you love. Hebrews 9:27 says this, just as it is appointed for man to die once and after that the judgment. We die once and after that the judgment. This is one life. You only get one life. Live it for something important in eternity. Live it for Jesus, and let's make every second of this next year count. Please don't get distracted by all this talk about vaccines and lockdown and masks and all this other junk. Don't let that sway you. Keep your eyes on Christ. And one day when we step into eternity, he will say, well done, good and faithful servant. Hey, it's been great to share a few thoughts with you this morning. I hope you enjoy your morning off. If you want to visit another church, feel free to go ahead and do it. We're all in the same church anyway. But I want to encourage you, take the time for what is important. Spend time with the Lord. Make time every single day to spend with the Lord. We're going to be republishing our Bible reading plan coming up. I want you all to join us with it. Let's read the Bible together. What have we got to lose? What have we got to gain? Everything. Unity in everything. This coming year, we're going to be really investing in prayer. We're going to really be investing in the future of our community and our nation. So come join us. But hey, take a bit of time off first and enjoy yourself. Have a great day. Have a great rest of the week, those of you who have it off. And God bless you. We'll see you next week. Josh is preaching next week in church. Look forward to that. And 2022 is going to be the greatest year we have ever seen at Ignite. And I believe the greatest year in our lives. Yes, 2021 was pretty ordinary, but hey, the light shines brightest in the darkness. We'll see you next week. God bless you. Have a great day off and enjoy your Boxing Day. Cheers.